Let's get back to that breaking news of the last 10 minutes or so, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the immediate retirement of all service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, advisors, Comptroller General of Customs from service, as well as their replacements with immediate effect. The newly appointed, there was also the announcement, rather, of the newly appointed officers. But let's bring in a security expert and the CEO of Beacon Consulting Limited, Dr. Kabir Adamu. Good to have you join us. Once again, we have seen yet another step in the institutional shakeup, as it were, by President Bola Tinubu, this time in the security sector. Does this particular move surprise you? Did you see this coming?
Frankly, no. It's traditional when head of states take command and settle into office to make changes. I'm only very impressed with the speed with which these changes are being made. Looking at the caliber of persons too that have been appointed, I think it's extremely impressive, and it gives an indication that the president means business. He has indicated clearly that security will be one of the primary focus of his government. And so, both in terms of addressing security itself, as well as the other associated elements that result in security challenges, which is the economy. I think so far we've seen some very impressive and bold decisions by President Tinubu.
The usual expectation from people, especially for security, is that the present security chiefs, service chiefs rather, and the Inspector General of Police will stay a while in office just to help the president get his footing. This particular move, what is the implication in terms of the security situation in the country?
So if you recall, one of the last acts that the immediate past president did was to sign, I think, Executive Order, if I remember well, 4, which allowed the process of transition to be now institutionalized. I participated in that process, so I know that a lot of work was done. The chairman of the council that was raised to facilitate that process was the immediate past Secretary to Government of the Federation. Now, as part of that activity, extensive work was done to compile issues that went well in the security sector, challenges that was experienced within the security sector, and then recommendations to improve the security sector. And then, if you recall, as part of the transition program, the president was handed over the Transition Council report. So, point I'm trying to make is that the president has in his possession, all of these 3 major areas: what went well, what was the mistakes that was encountered, and then recommendations that will improve that. So I do not think his acting is too swift. Given all of this information that is at his disposal, and then given the fact that he's desirous of changing security, let's not forget, my consultancy released a report last week, and we showed clearly that within a space of 10 years, about 78 Nigerians were killed, and this 78,000 Nigerians were killed under the watch of some of this, security leadership. They tried their best, no doubt, but sadly, there is no way you can excuse the death of 78,000 Nigerians under their watch. So anything the president does to change that, I think is commendable. I'm just hoping that some of the recommendations that were contained in that Transition Council document, including introducing accountability, when disappointments are made, just a first step. We need to do security sector reform to ensure accountability within the security sector, so that there will be a review, periodic review, to see the performances. If at the end of 2023, we see a reduction in abductions, reduction in all the security challenges, then we commend them through a verifiable instrument and several other recommendations that are contained in that transition document.
Absolutely. But for those who are criticizing, or those who are looking at this right now, scrutinizing rather, these list new names that have been appointed, one of the things they'll be watching out for is whether they are square pegs in square holes. But I just want to look at some of these names with you. Let's start with the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu. What's your thoughts on that appointment?
What we know about Nuhu Ribadu was when he headed the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and yes, he did a lot of positive things, but there were some mistakes too that was done at that time, and we're hoping that from that period till now, he would have learned to understand that power and leadership has a lot of responsibilities. Now he's been given an opportunity to head one of the most important and influential arm of government, which is the Office of the National Security Advisor, the coordinator of national security that looks at all the 27 or thereabout security departments within government. So we're hoping that he would pick up learn from the mistakes of his predecessors, galvanize an element of cooperation, coordination, and cooperation within the national security sector. And then, of course, in doing that, make sure that he carries everybody along. One of the challenges that have been mentioned is how he will relate with the military hierarchy that sees that office as their, baby, as it were. So it will be very important that he addresses that challenge, and the best person that can help him in addressing that challenge is the Mr. President himself. The Mr. President has given him the authority. He needs to support him in it.
But he also needs to work. I mean, he oversees the duties of the service chiefs and the chief of defense staff, and I just want to ask you about them as well, because many would say, especially for the chief of defense staff, many would say that he has big shoes to fill. When you look at the work done in that short space of time, as it were, by Irabo. But let's look at their names. Major General C.G. Musa is the Chief of Defense Staff. Major T.A. Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff. Rear Admiral E. Ogala is Chief of Naval Staff. And Air Vice Marshal Abubakar is the Chief of Air Staff. I'm not sure how much you know about these people, but what do you think they will bring to bear in terms of security in the country?
Like I mentioned earlier on, an extensive report was done where some of the challenges, you are right in saying that General Lucky Irabo has done tremendously well. One of the things that he has done that is not well spoken is ensuring the instrumentalization of a democratic tradition within the military sector. In other words, he understood the role of the military in a democratic setting, pulled back the military and allowed the police to take its step. It was work in progress. So we're hoping that these new persons will understand that, facilitate that process, support it, so that the police would take its role in internal security. General Lucky Irabo did very well in that regard. And of course, the other service chiefs. These new service chiefs, the little I know about them in terms of their pedigrees, they are all they are professionals in every regard.
Just to quickly butt in, my apologies, but I just wanted to make a quick correction. It is Major General T.A. Lagbaja and not Major T.A. Lagbaja. That's very important. I just want to make that correction. But in 30 minutes, I just wanted to wrap your thoughts. So we look at the, whilst we are there, let's talk about the Inspector General of Police. Egbetokun is to fill in the shoes of Usman Akali Baba, especially at a time where that relationship between Nigerians and the police is at an all-time low. I just want to also get your thoughts on the work that he has to do and if he has the requisite experience to do that job.
Yeah, Egbetokun has to take the bull by the horn and complete the reform process that was started by the outgoing Inspector General of Police. There is a document that has been agreed to that spells out clearly what is required in terms of police reform. So he needs to have the confidence and the willingness, as it were, to implement that document. That police reform document is something that had the contribution of our international partners, several experts within the Nigerian security sector. And more importantly, I see an opportunity. The current person heading the Police Service Commission is someone I have a lot of respect for. So I'm almost certain it is two of them, the Inspector General of Police and the Chairman of the Police Service Commission. If they sit down, what they will be able to achieve would be phenomenal, and it would be something that history will look back and commend them for. They have an opportunity. The document has been prepared for them. It's just for him to go in and implement it. And with the support of Mr. President, I think it will be a win-win. Lastly, I would like to mention the role of the Police Trust Fund. The Police Trust Fund is there to also assist and support in the area of training, welfare. So I hope Mr. President would find someone that is a professional, that is not corrupt, and appoint him as in that capacity, so that the three areas within the policing sector will have competent persons, and we have a police that Nigerians will be proud of. Anything short of a reform that would be like dialysis, where all the the bad eggs within the police will be removed, and we'll have persons that are professional, that are law-abiding, that serve the interests of Nigerians. That's what we need at the moment.
There's no doubt, Dr. Kabir, that in the coming days, this is going to be a talking point in Nigeria, especially in the security sector. Thank you so much for your time. CEO Beacon Consulting Limited, Dr. Kabir Adamu.